Hey, what's up, Street Talks? Eric from the Eric from Street Photography blog. Alright, cool. So let me talk to you all about social risk taking. So to me, this is actually kind of a cool notion because, you know, we talk a lot about like risk taking nowadays, but I think it's a little bit too general. It's a little bit too obscure. People don't like, what does it mean to take risk? Okay, so let me just outline this notion of social risk taking. Social risk taking is probably the most interesting things you could do now and the most pragmatic things you could do, especially in the context of photography and street photography in life. It just means like take the risk to just like talk to strangers. Talk to strangers, and even like when it comes to other humans, say things which are a little bit off script. Say what's really, really on your mind and don't censor yourself. And so you could do this with anything in life. You could talk about like politics, you talk about economics, you talk about philosophy. I generally find that notions of talking about politics, I hate talking politics because everyone's just copy and pasting opinions from other people. Maybe one of the best things to do in terms of social risk taking, ask people philosophical questions. Like two basic questions I ask people, which is actually really good questions. What is your passion in life? And you can ask this to anybody. Ask this to a janitor, barista, friends, strangers, Uber drivers. What is your passion in life? Or two, what is your life story? And first and foremost, this tends to be much more interesting for you just as an individual. People would give pretty good answers versus the whole standard like, oh, how are you? I'm fine. How are you? Fine. Cool. And then end of conversation. So that's the least socially risky thing you could do. And so it takes more social risk to ask people personal questions and to be like a little bit prying and, to push people a little bit. And even with street photography, it's all about social risk taking, right? Is that you're either shooting photos with permission, without permission, whatever it may be. And you literally have skin in the game. The person might yell at you, get offended, give you a dirty look, whatever. And that's all right. And I think the more social risk taking you could take, the more epic you could become. So some simple things you could do is next time you go ask, talking to the Uber driver and talking to any service worker or other human beings, first and foremost, when you're out and about in public or at a coffee shop or commuting, don't listen to headphones, right? Take out your headphones and just kind of observe the world around you and just start to talk to strangers more. So like I talk to so many people at the gym when I'm just like randomly out and about. I'm like, yo, how you doing? Oh, you could do that like, on the East Coast or Boston, right? Or the New England side. Hey buddy, how you doing? So even nowadays I'm like, hey, how you doing? And people will give you a generic answer, right? And then they say, oh, how are you doing? Then I'm like, oh, and then make it a little more interesting. Be like, go a little bit off script. Oh, I feel shitty today because I haven't had my cup of coffee today. Or, I feel great because I just talked to my mom. Whatever it may be, right? Make things a little bit more personal because everybody is kind of programmed to kind of stay to themselves. Like y'all know in California and most big cities, the cardinal sin is to make eye contact with people. So you're not allowed to make eye contact with people. But the funny thing is, actually, I think almost everyone I've made small talk to or struck up a conversation with have actually responded pretty positively, even in the Bay Area. So take more social risk. You see somebody who's interesting, or you're at a coffee shop, see someone reading a book, say, hey, what book are you reading? And then people like it too, because like if you're reading a paperback book in a coffee shop, this is a little bit of virtue signaling. It's like, oh, I am so literary that I read paper books. So strike up conversation with people. You like people's fashion, be like, yo, I love your fashion. Like, what's your personal fashion philosophy or whatever it may be. You can get some really pretty interesting things. So in life, photography and more, take more social risks, and I think you'll live a happier, more epic life and become a better artist.